sometimes it's tough finding your rider because there's lots of people around. I don't have a picture of them, but I was able to call her and she's on the way. So I'll just grab the door for them. Here they are, Robyn and Company.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Cheers.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
I am well. How are you?
Good, thanks.
I know. I felt like I was fighting with the engines of the motorcycles.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's a bit of a it's a loud area, and
Yep. And there's lots of people.
and the traffic's terrible. So.
Indeed. But I'm glad we found each other.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So it's Robyn and
Alastair.
Alastair.
Well, Robyn and Dad will be.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice to meet you both.
Thanks.
Alastair, I'm trying to remember the significance of the day today. Just give me a second here. Happy Father's Day.
That's pretty.
That's a
Old
cool
truck?
eh?
It is a cool truck, yeah.
There's a truck in my neighborhood that's like an old truck like that, and it's so cool. Every time I pass it, I'm like, that's such a cool truck. Like, if there was a truck to own,
Yeah,
that is
something
it.
like an F-150 like that would be great.
Yeah.
Is this an
Well, I
F1?
remember when those were still new. But then I'm old.
What year do you think that this one here is?
That one there, I
Yeah.
would give it a 1965, 66.
Oh my goodness.
My dad knows cars, so I would trust it.
That
I don't know cars
is-
that well, but I just judging, I would say mid-60s.
Judging by like the style of the vehicle.
Yeah, just from what I remember
Okay.
of trucks in that era. Mid-60s.
Very cool. I do not know vehicles very well, so I'm happy to.
So you're just like, I believe you.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
It could be a little. It could be a few.
Give or take a few
No,
years.
not like you could maybe a little earlier. Like I remember I had this 1962 Chevy Impala once. It was old. I had it.
Huh.
In the 70s when I had it. But it's similar, sort of that front end styling that they had back then. In the early 60s. But by the time it got to late 60s, it was not like that. It
Yeah.
changed.
Huh.
Help me understand the allure to old.
Well, just
In a
because there are
world
only
of
so
new.
many of them around, and it's there. I mean, the way they used to make vehicles then,
Yeah.
there was a certain personality to them. You know, a car was I don't know, they just don't make them like that anymore. I'm not saying they're necessarily better, they're not. Cars are better today probably than they've ever been.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by that because I mean it's more efficient today, and yet
yeah.
there's an allure to the old ones, especially of that era.
Right.
But then of my generation, which is like in the 80s, 90s,
Right.
you don't see those ones being preserved in the same way
Not
or
to
being
the same
celebrated.
extent, no.
Exactly, and so that's what I find really intriguing is it just seems to be like stuck in one generation. It doesn't carry on to ours for some reason, and yeah, that's
That is interesting. Why wouldn't it? I don't know. Maybe it will one day, though.
well,
Maybe
no.
like in future generations, that like vintage kind of 80s style car will make a resurgence.
Maybe.
You know,
Maybe.
that could be.
Not to the same degree. I don't think so because I don't.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Yeah.
There's a certain styling that cars like. You
I was
gotta
gonna
go back
say.
to the era. It's the era.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's the grand era of the automobile.
Okay.
That's fair. Yeah.
And your vehicle was a statement about your personality to some degree.
Okay.
There
That's
was,
fair.
and I mean, certainly cars were a lot less efficient, a lot less safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a whole mess of reasons. It's a good thing that we don't drive cars like that anymore. Okay, and I would not want to go back to that in any permanent way. But if money was no object to me, would I want a classic car? Sure, it would be fun to have.
Yeah.
It is.
Cool.
Yeah, very cool. Lots of and I do appreciate them. I think there's some of them, especially if you go back into the 40s and before that, into the 30s and 20s, they're like works of art.
Yeah,
you know?
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's
That
like,
hasn't
okay.
been,
you know.
especially now because like our current ones has shifted a little bit to the dynamic of mass production.
Well, they've always had
that
that.
was just my thought. Was just, you know what? Because
Yeah.
after
Well,
that,
it's
it was
always been mass production. Ever since Henry Ford. it's
Okay.
been mass
okay,
production.
but still, like if you think about it, like they've been like mass produced for. I mean, let's
Well,
there's
let's
just
put
more
it
people.
cars. Yes,
more
there's more
people,
people.
there's,
but
you know.
Yeah, but there's also.
And efficiency too. Like it's not so much a craft anymore. It's more so of just like how many of these can we pump out.
Well, it's also. I mean, they're
I think that
they're
goes-
less distinct from one another than they used to be.
Perhaps.
I mean, well, look. There's an Acura ahead of us,
Yeah.
and there's a Toyota
Toyota
right
Corolla.
next to it.
Yeah.
You're
yeah.
gonna be pretty hard pressed at a
the
casual.
uniformity of the
They
style.
look very, very similar to
Yeah.
it, don't they?
Sure.
And you see that one right there, that
Yeah.
other Nissan right
Yeah,
there?
yeah.
Look at this car.
Yeah.
I mean, how similar is it?
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's a very similar
Yeah,
car in
for
many,
sure.
many respects.
For
It's
sure.
the same
Yeah.
design.
Right.
So
Right?
it's that unique style.
I mean, you're in a Hyundai here.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a Nissan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, fair enough. And certainly there's going to be minor changes, but differences in the way execution, what I would call
Yeah.
execution.
Yeah.
But even that is
Yeah.
becoming more and more homogeneous.
Yeah.
The whole,
Yes,
the
yeah.
screen looks the same in every
Yeah,
car.
yeah.
It may not be in exactly the same position, but
Sure.
they all happen now.
Similar. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Everything is always basically laid out in a very similar way
Sure.
and using very similar materials.
Speed and red
But I
light
mean,
camera in 300
arguably,
meters.
older cars
Speed limit is 50 kilometers per hour.
were also kind of uniform in their time.
Not really not so much because yes.
Because there's kind of a distinctive style from those
Well, okay,
eras.
but each manufacturer had very, very distinct. Like it was,
Looks?
yeah, very different. It was very like
Chevy to Ford. To,
yeah, they're totally different. I mean, if you
But
build
also,
cars,
okay, if you think about it too, then there's been
they
like.
did copy one another, of course. I mean, they did all of that. And,
But if you also think about it, like a lot of those places have also been like bought out by one another. So like everything's kind of owned by. So of course, like
well,
everything
no,
kind
not
of looks
that. There's
similar.
been there hasn't been a lot of consolidation in the automobile industry for quite some time, actually.
I mean,
No, that's actually Ford is Ford, Chrysler is Chrysler, GM is GM.
yeah, I know, but
Nissan,
GM has like
Mercedes. Well, GM is the largest. GM
Yeah.
and
they
Volkswagen.
own
I think Volkswagen
how-
is now the largest car company.
anyways, I mean, I don't know a lot about cars. I'm kind of like
GM. I
talking
think,
out of my
they're
ass
up
right now,
there.
but I feel like
Right.
It's significant to say that Focus may not be like the premium old rendition that is valued as much as the Cadillacs from way back with the big fins, for example.
Yeah,
Or, yeah, I
okay.
find that really.
Yeah, back when we used to, aerodynamics didn't matter. You put a big motor
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
punch
yeah.
it through the atmosphere.
It's
Yeah.
intriguing.
Right.
they
who
were
cares
very
about it?
boxy, kind of.
They were like
Yeah,
aerodynamics
but this is
did
what
not
I'm saying
matter.
is that they had a very similar kind of
Sure.
aesthetic.
Yes, that's true. I would agree with that, and that's true of every era.
Exactly, and that's
Yeah.
kind of the point that I'm making
But
is
it's-
that like that vintage kind of style, it was also somewhat kind of uniform in that like it was.
Well, it was mass
It's like
produced.
exactly, and there was kind of a uniform aesthetic going
Sure,
on,
but
kind of like how
there's
there
a
is
trick.
now.
Well, okay. Yes, true. And frankly, cars in the last 10 years have improved dramatically from where they were in the previous 20 years before.
There
I mean,
are-
the older style
I
is still
mean, on your
cool AF.
style-wise, but if you look at a classic car compared to a car today, I'm sorry, I think it's kind of style. You give me a 1930 whatever Buick or they look great.
Yeah, they do. They're cool. They're
Yeah, they're
super cool.
They look great.
So
And sorry.
there are some models that have not changed but have